As long as I've known Mike, and even before I was born, I know that Mike has been very passionate about helping people with disabilities because of the experiences that he's had throughout his own life and being a part of the community. He started as a personal care attendant, and he has grown into a national advocate. And I think that he would do anything to advance the civil rights of people with disabilities.
Mike's work in the independent living movement began with his one-on work with individuals and seeing how transformative independent living and community living could be for one individual. And across his career, he's replicated that individual experience by implementing programs that provided opportunities for individuals to have access to the community, and by doing state and federal policy work that enshrine those values of independent living in all aspects of community life.
He is a mentor to lots of people with disabilities who are just trying to figure things out. People come to Mike and have conversations with him and start thinking about their lives in a completely different way and think about things that they had never thought of, because Mike has seen just about everything in the disability community. He really does change people's lives just by the knowledge that he has and the way that he thinks about things.
When I started in independent living, the Americans with Disabilities Act wasn't even a twinkle in anyone's eye. Curb cuts did not exist. Accessible housing really didn't exist. Accessible transportation didn't exist. This has all changed radically. Now curb cuts are pretty much routine. People expect to be able to get into stores. There are door openers, there are wider aisles, there's more employment. We can fly on planes. There's more accessible housing. The world has just opened up since then. It's been an amazing thing to see in a generation. I find my passion and drive fighting for independent living the way I learned it back in the 80s. It's about gaining rights and equality, not preferential or special treatment. You get to take a shot at living your dream. We want integration, just a shot at the same opportunities as people without disabilities, as anybody else. That is really the key difference.
It's fair to say in the state of Kansas that in the past 30 plus years, there hasn't really been a piece of disability legislation or a program that Mike's fingerprints aren't on somewhere. So we have, after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Kansas Act Against Discrimination was of course expanded to include disability. The development of home and community-based services programs, the development of our state Money Follows the Person program. Mike has been involved with abuse and neglect and exploitation. He's been involved most recently in attempts to expand Medicaid. On the federal level, anything having to do with community integration, the federal Money Follows the Person program, kind of all of these demonstration grants, the New Freedom Initiative. And so he spent a lot of his energy working to get programs and policies that end the institutional bias. He's worked federally on transportation issues, on housing issues, with respect to disability rights and advancing the ability of people with disabilities to live in the community. If there's an opportunity for Mike to get involved, he has done so.
He has a real knack for getting right at the heart of the issue and then finding innovative ways to kind of move the ball down the court to get to your final goal.
Nonviolent civil disobedience is the antidote to when all your answers are no. We want equality. No. We want to lift on that bus. No. We just want to get into the store. No. That's where that comes in. March up and down the street without a permit. Block traffic. Chaining ourselves to doors. Blocking doorways. Laying down in Mitch McConnell's office and making them drag us out of there.
He is the person in the trench who is protesting and kicking the door down. Mike is the person who we trust to go in and negotiate. And then when the follow-up needs to be done, in terms of the reading and the drafting and the writing and the follow-up meetings, Mike is always somebody who's there to answer the call.
He's dedicated his whole life to people with disabilities, and there's nothing he wouldn't do to make sure that people with disabilities get our civil rights.
I don't think there's ever going to be an end to the desire of people to make their way in the world, to be free, and freedom of expression, freedom to live your life, freedom to have fun will never end. We now have enough history and have done enough good things that I know will be around. We are resilient.